Krishna wanted somebody who will be completely surrendered to him and his ego will not prevent him from doing whatever he wants. So Arjuna was selected for that purpose. Yudhishthira, you know that when he was asked to tell Drona that his son has died, which was a lie, Yudhishthira refused to speak. He said, no, it is a lie. I am a Satyavadi. I am always keeping to truth. I cannot speak the untruth. Now for that, how Krishna had to fool him, we should understand that. What did they do? They named an elephant as Ashwathama, killed the elephant, and Yudhishthira was made to tell Dronacharya that Ashwathama hata iti kunjaraha. That is, Ashwathama has died, the elephant Ashwathama. And also during this last portion of the sentence, iti kunjaraha, they will beat the drum so that Drona is not able to hear. Now, is this a lesser lie? Suppose Yudhishthira had said that Ashwathama has died, just like that, without naming the elephant, without killing the elephant, he would have said, the purpose of the lie is the same. Are you able to understand? By saying that, what greater lie would have been there? Now in this case it is a more sinful act because he has unnecessarily killed an elephant, which was not needed at all. But the purpose is the same, that to make Drona, that he had promised that he will leave his arms and all, when he comes to know that his son has died, to make that happen and so that they can kill Drona. That immorality remained or even increased, but to fool Yudhishthira, Krishna had to design it. He knew how to fool these egoistic people also. Yudhishthira was egoistic about his dharma, about his morality. So Krishna designed a plot by which he could fool Yudhishthira and make him do whatever he wanted in a roundabout manner, telling the lies. But Arjuna was not like that. If you read Mahabharata, you will find that it was not at all a simple game. Seeing Bhagavad Gita, many people think that Arjuna became a knower after this. Knowledge is not that easy. Nobody can become a knower in 2 hours or 3 hours of a lecture. But certainly there was a great change which made him fight the war. And towards the end of Bhagavad Gita, you find that Arjuna was given the Sarva Gushyatamam. Earlier, whatever Krishna said, he said the Gushyad Gushyataram. All the knowledge in the spirituality, all the practices of yoga, everything was told. He said that I have told you everything. Gushyad Gushyataram. I have told you everything, the most secret also. And now thinking about all these things, you can do whatever you want. He left it like that. I have told you Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Yajna Bhavana, everything, all the methods, Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika, everything, all the knowledge I have given. Now you think whether you will fight the war or not. That was the end. Saying that, then he says that, but I cannot stop here because I am very fond of you and you are devoted to me. So I must tell you that what is the most secret. Param Gushyadam. What is that? Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji maham namaskuru. Then all those starts. That means you surrender. You consider there the Guru is coming down as the God. He says that you don't have to, he knew that whatever knowledge I have given while fighting the war, Arjuna will not be able to remember all these things. How will he clarify his mind while he has to fight in such a war, where it is not a present war that you order or press a button and missile will go. It's not like that. You have to fight with your hands and with your arms, surrounded by so many enemies. So naturally he would not be able to, his buddhi will not function so well and he will not be able to analyze. He knew. So he needs guidance. Whatever Krishna says, he has to follow. And that revelation takes place in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that too end of the 18th chapter, where he discloses that the surrender is the ultimate way. Now surrender does not mean that you will not have the self-effort, you will not have his will or anything. Surrender calls for the greatest will and greatest self-effort. Those I have discussed earlier here also, but we can take it up later also. So, If we read Mahabharata, you will find that every evening after the war was over for that day, coming back to the camp, there used to be lot of halla gulla, lot of shouting between amongst the brothers also. It was not at all easy. One day it so happened that Karna, Yudhishthira was fighting Karna, and he did not, Karna was a much better fighter. So Yudhishthira was defeated. But Karna did not kill because he had promised that I will not kill any of my brothers. He knew that they are brothers. So he just caught hold of his hair and said that you are a Bhamana Putra. That means you are like a Brahmin. Your nature is like a Brahmin. You are not a Kshatriya. Why are you coming to fight? Go and do puja and yajna and all. So Yudhishthira got very, very insulted by that. And why did it happen? Because when he was not able to fight, he had called Arjuna to come and join his. But these people, all of them knew that Karna should fight Yudhishthira without Arjuna. So they did not allow Arjuna to come. The vyuha was made in such a manner that Arjuna could not come. He wanted to come. When the message reached him, he wanted to come, but he could not enter. Yudhishthira thought that I have asked him to come, but he did not come. So he was very, very annoyed with Duryodhana. And that day he was insulted so much. So he was sitting in his camp, absolutely ashamed and repenting and whatnot. The moment Arjuna entered the tent, Yudhishthira said that, what were you doing when I called you, and you know what happened today? What Karna did to me? Throw away your Gandiva. This one sentence, throw away your Gandiva. This Arjuna also was egoistic. He had promised that if anybody asked me to throw away my Gandiva, I will chop off his head. Now they were all very sincere about their promises. So he was in difficulty. What can he do? He has to chop off his elder brother's head because he has promised. So he started expressing that, what can I do? Yudhishthira said like that, but I have to fulfill my promise. I will chop off his head. Now you can see the consequences. If he really cuts off Yudhishthira's head, then the next moment he will try to commit suicide, because I have now committed a great sin by killing my eldest brother. So Krishna found that the whole purpose of the war is going to be defeated. What are these nonsense people saying? What nonsense they are saying? How to control them? But there, that Arjuna's devotion and his surrender work. If you read the shlokas, you will find Arjuna is saying so many things. But at the end of it, he says that, but Krishna, you are a knower of truth. Whatever you say, I will do. That is, I will do this, I will do that, this has been done to me, so I will do this. Many things he says. But at the end shloka is always the same. He says, but Krishna, you are a knower of truth. Whatever you say, I will do. Then Krishna says that according to the Shastras, if you abuse your elder brother, that is equal to killing him. Our Shastras have all this, that for a Brahmana who is very self-conscious about it, if he does any small stealing or anything wrong, then what should be the punishment? Punishment will be different from the Brahmana than from others, because he is a conscientious person, supposed to be. In that case, punishment will be just some ninda or somewhere to expose that he has done it to the society. That itself is too much for him. So such punishments are there. Like that, in this case, he says that if one abuses his brother, it is equal to killing his brother. So Arjuna, you abuse Yudhishthira. Then Arjuna starts abusing Yudhishthira. What all things he said, you should read it. Even involving Draupadi also, whatever complaints he had, everything is spoken out there. From the history, everything is there. That means all those things were hiding in his mind, otherwise how could he say? So he spoke all these things. So it is now, after finishing it, he says that, but I have spoken abusively to my brother, so I must commit suicide now. I will cut off my own head, because I have spoken like this. Krishna was again in trouble, what to do. But here also, after saying that I will commit suicide, he said, but Krishna, you are a knower of truth, whatever you tell me I will do. So Krishna says that for a real Veera, a courageous warrior, Atma Shlagha is equal to suicide. Atma Shlagha means praising yourself, I am great, I am this, I am that, etc. You can do it while fighting your enemy. To bring down your enemy's power, you can say many things. That is, first will be the war of words. To make the enemy powerless, that is done. That is there. You will find that every time before one is fighting the other, they are speaking about each other's cowardice or courage or all those things. But not in this case, in other cases. So he said that, well, Arjuna, you speak boastfully about yourself, that will be equal to committing suicide because you are the Mahavira of war. So then Arjuna starts saying that all about himself, great things, many things. Like that he was saving these people. So everywhere that you will find, what I wanted to say here is the end of the shloka, end of Arjuna's statement always ends with, but Krishna, you are a knower of truth, whatever you say I will do. And that saved him in the war. Whatever Krishna wanted, he did. He was not able to do always, that also you know perhaps. When Bhishma, he was supposed to fight Bhishma, he was not able to. He was releasing arrows which are very powerless. It was just striking Bhishma's armor and falling off. So Krishna says, this will not work, I will fight Bhishma. He got down from the chariot and ran with his Sudarshana Chakra. Although he had promised that I will not take up weapon, I will not fight, I will only be the charioteer. That was his promise. But it was, for him, he could break his promise also easily, depending on the situation. So he said, I will break my promise and I will kill Bhishma, you don't have to kill him. The moment he ran with his Sudarshana Chakra, seeing him, Bhishma prostrated before him, will I have the fortune to die in your hand, O Mahaprabhu? He knew that Krishna is a knower of truth. In the hands of such a great person will I die? Please kill me, like that. So by that time Arjuna came and prostrated before Krishna and said that, please don't, you remove your Sudarshana Chakra, you take back your Sudarshana Chakra, I will fight my grandfather. And then he started fighting properly. So we have to read carefully, we will find that it was not at all easy with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita given before the war also. It is not at all easy, it's a very difficult situation. At least we should try to understand and imagine the life situations which they were facing in different cases. Why did I say this? That Arjuna had the surrender to listen to Krishna. So Arjuna was the receptacle and he was the disciple in this Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is the Acharya and Arjuna is the disciple. Now in the first case where Arjuna said that this is my mindset and that is why I don't want to fight the war, I would rather go to the forest. I have already stayed in the forest, now I will take up sannyasa, I will take to Bhikshacharya and I will not fight anymore. Because I cannot take up this war at all, where I have to kill my most beloved grandfather and the most respected teacher. Then Krishna started, first of all, giving him right and left slaps. Slaps means words. That you are a cowardice, you don't know, you are a foolish person, you will lose your glory as well as the glory of your lineage. You are like, you lack manliness. All these things, the second chapter beginning, you will find all these things are there. In Bengali we call Adong Dholai. In Hindi it is there. Adong Dholai, Hindi mein hai kya? Nahin. That where you need the washing, that clothes which are very dirty, you need harsh soap and soda powder to wash it. So like that in the sadhaka jivana, that is in the life of a spiritual seeker also, often this kind of a treatment is necessary to bring him to senses. Then again sweet things can be given. But often harsh treatment has to be given to sublimate his ego, because the ego is the hindrance everywhere. If the ego is gone, everything becomes all right. So ego will not always go by sweet words, praise or so. Ego needs sometimes harsh treatment. So Krishna first applied the harsh treatment. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. Klaivyam masmagamah partha naitat tvayupapadyate shudram hridaya daurvalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. That whatever you are saying with so much of pride and all, it's all nonsense. You have not understood anything. It is only your klaivyam, means not manliness, not having the manliness, neuter. So this is hridaya daurvalya, this is weakness of your heart, this is the weakness of your mind that is causing you say all these things. Try to have the courage and try to think clearly. Now getting all this scolding, Arjuna then became humble. This 7th verse of 2nd chapter is very important. Actually, this is the fundamental basis on which Bhagavad Gita is based. If this confession from Arjuna had not been there, then the message could not have been there. This humility on the part of the humility and confession on the part of the disciple is essential, indispensable for the Guru to give him the knowledge. What is that? Now he says, will you chant? Karpanya doshopahata svabhavaha Karpanya doshopahata svabhavaha Prichhami tvam dharma sammudhacetaha Prichhami tvam dharma sammudhacetaha Yat shreyasyat nishchitam bruhitan me Yat shreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me Shishyasteham Shadhimam tvam prapannam. He understood that his mind is not able to conceive of the highest knowledge of the state which will give him clarity. He says, Karpanya doshaha upahata svabhavaha. Karpanya means miserliness. Karpanya word we generally use for money, kripana. Actually, the kripanata is in the mind. That is a greater kripanata, a subtler kripanata. That any constriction of the mind is called kripanata of the mind, karpanya dosha. All of us are suffering from karpanya dosha. That is why we are not able to grasp the truth or realize the truth. It is only because of karpanya dosha. When the mind becomes like the sky, like the space, not having any constriction, any preconceived ideas or anything, then the truth becomes simple and apparent. It becomes self-shining. So it is the karpanya dosha which is preventing us from seeing clearly what is life, what we are, what is the world, and what we are supposed to do in a certain situation, which path we are supposed to take. Karpanya dosha you will find in a lesser subtle sense, not so subtle, in a grosser sense, that when somebody is good, we are not able to praise his goodness or appreciate his goodness properly. It's very common with us. That is the karpanya we suffer from. When we find something good, even if he is a person whom I do not like, I should be able to happily appreciate that and feel good about it. Even when my colleague or somebody comparable is having lot of prosperity, we are not happy about it. It is the karpanya we are suffering from, constriction of the mind. To feel happy in others' happiness, to feel dukkha in others' dukkha, to appreciate others' qualities, these are all the good qualities which takes away karpanya from us. Once those are gone, we will find the mind becomes peaceful, expansive, and a placidity dawns, prasada dawns, placidity dawns in the mind. That we will not be cheerless, we will not be suffering so much, we will not be tense. Everywhere we will have a cheerful disposition. So generally you will find that those who come as seeker, Swamiji will be most attracted who have this cheerful disposition, because it shows a very healthy mind. So when you give some knowledge or something, that cheerful disposition, cheerful does not mean that always he will have to laugh and make merrymaking and joking and all. No, not that. A cheerful disposition is a very healthy, contented disposition. Some people are like that by nature. They are very contented, they are not complaining, they are not blaming like that. They can easily absorb the true knowledge. So any guru will like such a disciple who has this cheerful disposition, because then his work becomes easier. He doesn't have to give Adang the lie and all. Simply to tell. That is what happens in Kathopanishad also. Yamaraja was so happy with Nachiketa's disposition that he says that, may more and more disciples like you, O Nachiketa, more and more disciples like you come to us. Why? You are a Satyadhriti. Satyadhriti Rupatasi. You are indeed a Satyadhriti. Satyadhriti means, Dhriti means Dharanakshamata, retentivity. Satyadhriti means one who can, once the truth is given, he can retain the truth. Normally people will not be able to retain. Even if he is able to grasp sometimes when it is explained, by the time they walk out, they will forget. They will not be able to retain it. That is, the dhriti is not there. Understanding can be given by the teacher, by explaining this way, that way, helping, provided the intelligence is humble. In some cases the intelligence is not humble, so whatever the teacher says he will not accept. In that case that understanding also cannot be given. If the intelligence is humble, then the understanding can be given. But the dhriti cannot be provided by the teacher. Dhriti will depend on your own sadhana. The retentivity will depend on your sadhana. That means how much you have been able to cleanse your mind, how much of sattva guna you have been able to cultivate. It will depend on your food. Food means not only food through the mouth, food through the eyes, food through the ears, all the indriyas, and not only indriyas, more important food is food of the mind. What are the thoughts you are taking in? What are the books you are reading? What are the talks you are hearing? That is constituting your mind. To generate sattva guna in the mind, you have to take in sattvika thoughts, sattvika ideals, sattvika virtues. To generate sattva guna in the intelligence, you have to analyze and deal and think about and ruminate on the sattva guna. That means about the truth, about the Atma, which is all pervading, which is unity in diversity, such comprehensive thoughts, they will generate sattva guna in the intelligence. So it is for us to change our ahara and vihara, that is our interactions and our intakes, inputs and outputs. As they become more and more sattvika, the retentivity also increases, satya dhriti increases. So, this I was explaining karpanya doshaha. So Arjuna says that I have understood, I have karpanya doshaha. Prichhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. In the first chapter he was giving lecture on dharma to Krishna. The first chapter is Arjuna's lecture to Krishna, that on dharma, on morality. Now he has understood, he said that I am dharma sammudha chetaha, not only mudha, sammudha. Sammudha means samyak mudha. I am absolutely confused about what is dharma and what is adharma. I am not able to understand, see what is dharma. That is why I am asking you, prichhami tvam. I am asking you with my completely deluded being completely deluded about dharma, confused about dharma. Yat shreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me. Wherever lies my shreyas, please tell me without any ambiguity. All these words are important. Nishchitam bruhitan me. That means without any ambiguity, so that I can understand. Clear, no ambiguous instruction. Yat shreyasyat. This shreyas, I have discussed about it yesterday, I think. Shreyas and prayers. That is where lies the auspicious goal. Now, when he is saying that I want to know from you where lies my shreyas, it means he is a real seeker.